One of my other mentors had a video that was played at this event. It was like his story, and it was really compelling. I mean, it left people in tears. And I remember, I'm like, who created this video? And it was this guy that really blew up overnight. And I'm like, I'm gonna call this guy and I wanna set up, a meeting with him to shoot my story video. I wanted to use this video to, build my personal brand and put out there on the internet. And he said, you know what, I'm gonna be at this big event coming up, in a few months. And you can come out there and you can meet me at this event, and we'll shoot your video. And it was perfect timing because, my buddy, the guy from the VIP party, he was going to be in Vegas that very same time speaking at another event, a massive marketing event. So it just ended up working out. I was like, you know what? Right now, I'm not really doing much. Just shut down this company. Let's go out to Vegas again and enjoy this event, get this video shot, and we'll see what happens. So right when I touched down, I'm excited because everyone's in town, and I knew that I was gonna be able to connect with my buddy from the VIP party. So I call him up and he tells me what room he's in the hotel, and I get there, I go right to his room, and I walk in, and I was shocked because I knew how much money this guy was making, but he was just in this regular room, and we had like 2 queen-size beds. It wasn't like this suite that I expected. But what was crazy about it was that everywhere there was just computers. And after a little bit of chit chat, him telling me, about his talk and what he was gonna talk about the next day at the event, I couldn't help but ask him, like, hey man, what's all this on the computers? And he's like, that's my business. I'm like, man, it looks like you're like trying to, do some kind of crazy code to like break down the universe. What's going on here? So he said, these are all of my funnels. These are all of the numbers. I know everything. I know when people are coming into a specific funnel. I know how many leads I'm getting. I know who's on the phone. He's like, watch this. He could even click a button and listen in on phone calls. And then there was this other little number that I saw like in the corner, and it was like well over, $3,000. And when I got to his room, it was, I think just after 10 a.m. in the morning. And I'm like, is this what you've earned? And he's like, yeah, from that particular funnel. So that was just one funnel already, literally before I had even had breakfast. This guy had already made over 6 figures. And I was just so like blown away. I'd never seen any kind of operation like this, someone that was so dialed into his business. So we, were chatting, and, every now and then I would hear certain things like go off from the computer, and he'd kind of peek over at it. He'd get on a phone call every now and then, or just kind of chat with someone on his team, and then he would come back. And then, at this point, it's getting closer to lunchtime. I peek over again, and now it's well over $150,000 that he's earned for that day, and it's not even noon. So he says, all right, let's go grab some lunch. And there's a good steakhouse, in the hotel. Let's go grab a steak. I'm like, all right, cool. So we go down to the steakhouse, and as we're walking down to the steakhouse, he says, yeah, man, they have this 70-ounce porterhouse steak. He's like, we should get it and we can split it, because if we split it, we can save $40 versus buying, our own individual steak that could cost us anywhere from like $70 to $120. We can just get this $75, $80 steak, and we can save money. And I remember looking at this guy, and I'm like, dude, aren't you worth like, 50 million or something like that? Like, he's like, yeah. I'm like, so why the heck are we gonna split a steak? He's like, man, every dollar counts. And at that point, I knew there was something different about this guy. I'd never seen anybody make so much money, but was so damn cheap, right? So we get in there, and I feel like a little child splitting a steak. I even joked around with him, like, you want me to come over to the table and cut your steak for you and feed it to you? But he said, you know who else is really cheap? And I'm like, who? He said, Warren Buffett. He says, Warren Buffett lives in the same exact house, that he had before he made all of his money. He's like, that's what I'm about. I'm about, seeing it grow. I like to see it grow. And I kept asking him all these questions about it. And it was the complete opposite in terms of how he was, building his business and his lifestyle compared to everything that I had seen. I started making some money. I'm trying to buy the fancy whip. He's making money, he's putting it back into his business. So I was learning a lot from him, just kind of watching what was going on. So anyhow, we go up to the hotel room, and I couldn't help but go run to his computers when I get in, and I kind of start boxing him out, playing around, and I'm like, let me see where you're at now, thinking that it would go up from like 150 to like maybe like, 170. And to my surprise, it didn't go up, to 170. It didn't go up to 190. This man had made over $260,000 literally that day. His focus was just something I had never seen before. Let me give you one example, because I know some of you are like, well, what was he doing? And I'll definitely get to that. He expressed to me, he said, the reason I'm able to do this is because, I understand how the numbers work. He's like, I have one goal and I focus on specific KPIs. And once I figure out what the KPI is, key performance indicator, I focus in on that and I try to break the record of that number each and every day. So for example, let's say in your business you need to generate 100 leads a day to be successful, and the day before you generate 91 leads. He said the next day his goal would be to generate 92 leads. So if the next day after that he generated 80 leads, the goal the following day would be to generate 81. So he's constantly trying to break the records from the day before, even if the numbers are lower each and every day. And he says as long as he stays on point with those KPIs, he knew that he'd have a successful business. And then he went down the line in terms of, for his specific KPI was, how many people are booking the calls, how many people are actually getting on the phones. And he knew that he would hit a specific number that day. And he said, the reason I'm at the number that you're joking around with me about is because, today we had more booked calls than we had in the whole prior, last few months in terms of day-to-day tracking. So he knew he was going to be at those numbers, and the numbers literally were true. So I knew that I needed to learn more about what he was doing. I knew that I needed to pay more attention to my numbers. And that's why with every company that I build to this day, I'm so focused in on the numbers. But we'll get more to that here in a second. I tell my buddy from the VIP part, I gotta go make this story video, and now I'm off to meet I go shoot this video all over Vegas. This man has me walking all through Vegas. People are looking at me like I'm crazy, like who is this guy getting followed around with a camera? Because back then, it wasn't like it is today. People thought you were kind of weird with someone following you around with the camera, but it was really cool. That story video still to this day gets people reaching out to me saying, man, that was a cool video. It was inspiring, and I can't wait to connect with you. So if you are an entrepreneur or a business owner, make sure that you get some type of branding video that you can put out there that tells a little bit about your story. It definitely will help you in your business.